So you want to create an awesome logo for your YouTube channel art? This is the video for you. We're going to go through some steps about why branding is important, how to create your first logo, and some techniques that you can use to develop your own custom channel art. If you want to see more, continue watching this video. Run the intro. Hi guys, my name's Jay with GFXJ, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create a professional logo that you can use for YouTube, for Twitch, for Twitter, anything like that. Basically getting you started with your very own branding. This video is part one in a two-part series on creating YouTube channel art, which is what the video is going to be called. But remember, you can adapt these different images, these logos, these banners for all different kinds of social media, be it Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, etc. The importance of having branding is the first part of this video, because I want to emphasize, and what I don't see on many tutorials, is why branding is important. And the best way to describe that is Coca-Cola or McDonald's. Now, I just said Coca-Cola and McDonald's, and in your head you instantly thought of the red can and you instantly thought of the yellow M. Now, these aren't just created to look nice. These are created because they want you to remember them. They want you to think Coca-Cola, think red. Think McDonald's, think big yellow M. Because when you're driving and you see those products or see those brands, your subconscious instantly recognizes it and knows that it's a trustworthy brand, that you know that McDonald's have a certain service, or Coke tastes how Coke tastes. So with YouTube or with any kind of business, the reason branding is important is because when people eventually start coming to your channel or start coming to your Twitter and they see your logo, over time they'll subconsciously start to realize that, oh, this guy actually posts half decent stuff. I recognize it from the thumbnail, or I recognize his channel from the logo, and I've seen it before. And you've got more chance of retaining subscribers that you might not otherwise have had, because they might have seen your video, liked your video, but they might not have subscribed because they kind of thought they got what they wanted out of you. But then you post another video and they're like, actually, this guy's making content that's really applicable to me, and I recognize him, and I recognize the branding, so do you know what, I'm going to subscribe. And it's really important, and I think people tend to brush off how important branding is. That being said, going into a bit more about branding, is you see a lot of people offering free YouTube outros or free YouTube intros, or, you know, here is a banner template. Now, that's all well and good, but if that video, I'm taking a spitball figure here, is getting 100,000 views, then there's a good chance that those people are there because they want a graphics template. That means there's 100,000 channels potentially using that banner. So therefore, that isn't branding. That's just putting something nice on the page. So what we're going to teach you in this series, a very small series, is how to create your own banner and your own logo. Now, what I want you to do is not take what I'm doing step by step and use what I'm using. I mean, you're more than welcome to, but look at the practices that I'm putting in place and follow along and learn the techniques I'm using, and then use that to create your artwork. So maybe change the font and, you know, change the coloring, use a gradient, don't use a gradient, and eventually you'll be able to work your own branding, and you'll be a lot more successful and a lot more happier with it because you know that you created it. Anyway, to stop the rambling, I'm going to now start with the tutorial. So first, what you want to do is you want to open up Photoshop. I'm currently using Photoshop CS 5.5, but any version of Photoshop's is going to work, and the tools I'm going to use are spread across most of the different versions. So if you have Creative Cloud, then use Creative Cloud. If you have 6, etc. So what you want to do is go to File, New, and you want to create a document of 2,560 pixels wide by 1440 high. that is the size in which YouTube wants you to create the graphics. You want to set the resolution at 72. The important thing about resolution is 72, well, between 29 and 72 is considered for web. So because this image is going up on a website, you only want 72. If you eventually want to get banners printed, like I'm talking big, sort of big banners that you can take to events, then you want to set your resolution between 300 and 600. That way you can print them high quality. But for this, if you want to just create it for web, then 72, and have your background set as transparent. So now we've got our document, and there's nothing on it, of course. What we want to do is I'm going to drag in a template. Now, this template is basically a guide on how YouTube is going to view your banner. So I'm going to leave a link to this down in the description, but I'm going to go to place and place in this template. So as you can see, this is the text and logo safe area for desktop minimum and mobile. This is for tablet, this is for desktop max, and this is for TV. So what we want to do is we obviously want to confine our text and our logo and things like that into this, oh my bad, into this little section here. That way it's completely visible. We're not going to create the banner right now, but what we are going to do is create the logo for the banner, and using this template we're going to create the logo. So what you want to do is you want to create a new layer, which you can click on this little symbol here, or it's Control Shift and N to create a new layer, and you can name it. So we'll do that. So we can name it I don't know, logo background. So we can now delete this. You can click on it and hit delete, or you can hit the trash can, or you can actually right click and delete layer, whichever one works for you, though learning the shortcuts will make things a lot easier in the long run. So for logo background, I have downloaded an image, which is this one right here. As you can see, it's a bit smaller than our screen size, but that's okay because it's only a background. So we're going to stretch that to make that a lot bigger. And then you hit enter. To transform, you've got to do Control and T, like I just did then, and then you hit enter to confirm your transformation. So now you're probably thinking, oh, I can't see the template. I'm going to have to hide this layer by clicking the eye to kind of see. Well, the reason I've left this a second is because I want to show you the importance of grids. So along the top and sides you have the ruler. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out our work area. So these lines, by dragging and then releasing, creates your grid layout, which means that you now know the exact areas in which you can work with. So if I now view that layer, you can see the areas in which to work with. That was desktop minimum and tablet, that was mobile I think, and that was PC, and then this was TV. So you can see the areas. So now what we're going to do is, that background's a bit bright for my liking, so we're going to add a little gradient. So I've created a new layer. If you go over the paint bucket tool, which is here, and hold down, you can see gradient tool, or you can press G, either one. And I've selected a radial gradient, and I want my gradient to just be black to transparent. What black to transparent does is, I'll quickly show you. As you can see, it darkens all the areas except for a particular circle. So we're going to do that. So we've got this nice gradient now. This seems to taper off the edges, and it looks pretty nice. But the middle is where we're going to have our logos still too bright. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a dark, with my paint bucket tool, I'm going to put a dark layer. Oh, I've got to actually create a new layer. I'm going to put a dark layer over the top. Now you're thinking, oh, I can't see anything. So what we're going to do is reduce that opacity like that, and now we've got a subtle sort of futuristic look in the background, but also it tapers off to the side, so it looks nice. But now we need to get into the actual making of the logo. So for this, and you're probably watching this video thinking, oh, he's creating the graphics that he's using for his own channel. I figured that for the first video that I do, I'd create my own graphics, so you know that the things that I'm using and the techniques I'm using are what I'm going to use for my own channel. So therefore, I am giving you techniques that I would personally use, and not just giving you some kind of graphics that are almost like throwaway, that haven't been thought out. This is a process that I'm actually thinking out and doing for you pretty much live. So we're going to zoom in now into our work area, and the best thing to do when creating a logo is to find a font that you want to use. So I have found Bebas Neue, and I have found, it's called, let's see, I will link these fonts down in the bottom, but there's Bebas Neue, and then there is, where are you, begins with T, Techno Hideo. So Techno Hideo is going to be what we use for our logo. Bebas Neue is going to be what we use for our text. So we're going to go ahead and just to the side here, I'm going to put the letter J, and I'm going to make that white so I can visibly see it, and I'm going to drag that layer up there, and I'm going to make that big enough so we can actually see it. So that is the start of our logo, but we're not done there, because we want to make that pop. We really want to make that logo look nice and look professional. So we're going to zoom in, and I'm going to take this tool here, which is the marquee tool, the polygonal lasso tool, my bad, and we're going to just subtly go round the edge of this L by holding shift and clicking to get the nice straight edges like that. And then you just select the start point, and it will create this little selection here. Now underneath this layer, we're going to go with a nice solid black. And then what you might want to do is just, if you have just slightly missed the start point, you just want to clean that up to make sure you've got the straightest edge that you can have, like that. Now we've done that, it's still really bland. So what we want to do is we now want to create another section right above it, like that, and go around it again like that. And again underneath, drag this layer below, and we want to create a colour underneath. So I'm going to take a nice sort of teal colour, and I'm going to get my paint bucket tool again, and I'm going to paste in. And again, as you can see, that little edge is jagged there, so we just want to just trim that off, just to make it as straight as possible. So now if we zoom out by double clicking, you can see I've got this nice sort of nice J shape, which is really cool. What I'm actually going to do though is I'm going to just fill this little section in, because I think that will look a lot nicer if that was filled in. Let's make sure it's got it all. Yeah, so we've got this nice sort of jagged J shape. Now it still, for me, needs a bit done to it, needs a little bit of work. So we're going to take this top J layer, and we're going to go right click, blending options, and we're going to go to a gradient overlay. Now this gradient overlay, sorry, not this layer, sorry, this L layer, right click, blending options, gradient overlay. And this gradient overlay, that looks terrible, so what we're going to do is just hit reverse. And it still looks bad, but we can lower this opacity. And what we're going to do is just give it a nice sort of chrome look to it. It gives the image a bit of depth. And then we're going to take this layer here, our teal layer, and we're going to do something very similar. Gradient overlay, hit reverse, but instead of using this color palette, we're going to use black to transparent, just like we've done with the gradient on the background. And I mean, we can lower it a little bit, but I think that looks quite nice like that. And to top that all off, on this same layer here, we're going to add a drop shadow. Now you can't really see it here, but if you go distance, you can see that shadow there. So we want a distance of about 5, and we're going to just up the spread and up the size a little bit, just to give it a bit of a, almost like it's lifting off the document. So now we've got our J shape. So as you can see, it's looking pretty nice, but that doesn't really describe what it is. That is just literally a logo. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually add a little flag to this thing. But what we need to do is we need to tidy up our layers panel, because as you can see, layer 4, layer 3, J, layer 1, layer 2, it just doesn't make any sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, right click, and then layer properties. And we're going to call this template. And you can even deem it a colour. So for a template, we'll give this violet. And then these 3 are our background images. So we'll call this future. Oh, I went to blending options. We'll call this layer properties futuristic BG for background. And we'll actually give that a colour as well. For all background colours, we'll give it a red, a nice red. Then this, we'll call this layer, our black. This is our black layer that sits below the gradient. We'll call this darkened layer. And then the gradient above it, again, we'll call it gradient layer. And I forgot to add the colours, but because these are backgrounds, we're going to go red, layer properties, red. And then we've got these 3. So we're going to call this the J logo. This is now our black layer, so we're going to call this J black stroke, because it's the stroke that goes round. And then this one is the teal stroke. So layer properties J teal stroke, and we'll give all of these a colour as well, because they're all part of the logo. So we're going to give these an orange. Layer properties, orange, layer properties, orange. So that colour index is sort of, you'll know what section that is. But if you want to go one further and keep everything super tidy, you can actually select all these layers, and with Control G you can group them. So if we group them and then right click group properties, we can name this background layers. And if we do the same with this, and you can either go like this, or you can actually click in there like that, and then we can call this logo layers. So now what that does is that just tidies up everything really nicely, and it's good to keep your documents tidy, because then when you go, if you want to go back and edit anything, you just know exactly what every layer is. So now we're going to get on to our flag. So we're going to create a new layer, but we're going to put it below the logo but above the background. And what we want to do is we want to take a nice little section here of just at the tip of the white bit of the J, and at the bottom like that, and then we can come back out again, and we're just going to create just a box using this marquee tool, the rectangular marquee tool. We're going to take the colour white, and we're just going to post that in there. So as you can already see, this drop shadow is looking pretty heavy on that background. So we can go into that, blending options, drop shadow, and we can reduce the size, and that way it just doesn't look as harsh. So we've got this, it looks alright, but do you know what? We're going to give it a nice little jagged edge, just to keep with the consistency of the rest of the design. So now we've got this flag, and it looks okay. We're going to put some text in it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our colour and choose black. We're going to create a text area here. We're going to select the Bebas new font and a smaller font size, and we're going to put GFXJ in there. And what we're going to do is just we're going to up the font just until we find a font size that we like. So we can do that, or Control T, and you can just make it bigger like that. So I'm happy with how that has come out, but again I'm thinking, I don't like that black, and the white seems bland. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to right click and rasterize this layer, hit Control A to select all in that layer, as you can see, and then take this tool up here, this selection tool, or it's the cursor tool I think it's called, move tool, and just hit up 1 pixel and down 1 pixel. What that's done is it's selected everything that's within that layer, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to our white background layer, so this flag, and we're just going to hit delete, and then we're going to hide that. So now what that's done is that's taken a selection out of the white flag, and what that does is it makes sure that it makes the background come through, so it almost looks really futuristic and almost digital. We can now get rid of this layer because we don't need it anymore, and we're going to rename this layer properties white flag, my poor typing there, white flag and text. So what we can do is we can also go into this, and to keep again with the theme, we can add a gradient to it, hit reverse again and lower the opacity, and we can add a drop shadow just to make that image just pop a little bit more. So now if we zoom out, we've got this nice logo that we can now select everything within, and we can just center that now. So we've got that nice logo, it's centered. We can't really use this as a channel banner, because that isn't the point of this video. The point is to make our logo. To see how to make the channel banner, there will be a link in the description, as well as a link on screen at the beginning of the video and at the end. But for now, we need to now make this logo ready for YouTube. So what we can do is you're going to want to save this logo, because this is going to be your brand logo, not your avatar logo. They're two very different things. Your brand logo is your logo along with a description of, or the actual name of your brand or your company or your YouTube channel. So if we take this crop tool here, which is this tool, we're just going to crop this little section here like that, and do you know what, before we do that, let's save this document. So we're going to save this, Control Shift and S, and we're going to save this as a Photoshop document, and we're going to call this full size logo. And then what we want to do is take this section again with the crop tool, hit enter, and then we want to save this as brand logo. Which is perfect. So we've got this now, this little section, and you can use that on various things, but we want a logo that's going to fit a square avatar for Twitter or for YouTube or for Facebook. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to hide this white flag, take our logo layer, bring this into the center, and get the crop tool again, and we're going to make a nice square, make sure it's centered, and then hit enter. And that is as simple as it is to make the logo an avatar logo, and we can then save that as avatar logo. So we've got our 3 Photoshop documents saved, and now we're going to want to export this so we can have it as a PNG or a JPEG and upload it to YouTube or to Twitter. So what we're going to do is going to go to File, Save for Web and Devices. This just means that it will save it so it's made just for the web and for devices. So JPEGs and any imagery, they hold a lot of data within them. What this does is it strips the data, so it reduces the file size, and it just makes it a lot nicer. Under here, where it says metadata, we want to select none. That's what I was talking about data within the images. And instead of having it a GIF, we're going to select JPEG, and we're going to have it optimized, and we're going to have it high quality. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit save. And then what we want to do is we want to navigate to where we've got our images, and we're going to call this YouTube _ logo, and hit save. Now that has been saved, and if we go into our, if we actually go into our folder, you can see it's now saved a JPEG version of that logo. There we have it. So there's our nice logo, and that is now ready to be uploaded anywhere you want it to be uploaded. So I hope that this video has been instructional. Again, if you want to see how to make a channel banner, then please go to the next video and check it out. Don't forget, if you like this video, don't forget to smash a like. If you want to see any other tutorials, be it Photoshop, video editing, anything like that, then let me know in the comments below, and I'll see if I can make a video on it. As long as I know the information, I'm happy to share it with you. Anyway, for now, I've been Jay. Have an awesome day.